Hey, salam alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing? We are midway through the month of Ramadan. Subhanallah. How's it feeling? Are you hitting the wall or are you already energized in the 10 days of forgiveness? Subhanallah Azim. We're going to be talking these topics today with my special guest. But before we get to him, I want to say a big thank you to watan.org.uk, who are sponsor of the Ramadan Reset. We're all here, me and my guests and the organizers are all here for the Syrian people who are in a form of lockdown in the refugee camps all across the Middle East, and specifically on the borders of Turkey. Subhanallah, may Allah Ta'ala save them and bless them, because they can't get what they need at all, and it's out of their hands very, very clearly. And we've got a chance with this show here to encourage you to get involved with Allah Ta'ala and let them know we haven't forgotten them. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But I'm going to intro my guest today, one of my favorites actually, Tez Ilyas. He is a UK comedian, and he is a superstar of the Men Like Mobeen, which I don't think anybody in the world can possibly understand unless you're from like Preston or Bradford. Totally unrelatable and yet hilarious. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Lauren. And conversely, I would disagree with you, actually, Lauren. I think anyone around the world can understand that show, because everyone in the world has troublemaker friends, those friends who are constantly getting into trouble, who say the wrong thing at the wrong time. Wherever part of the world you're in, I don't care whether you're in Blackburn like I am, or whether in Jakarta, or whether you're in Sydney or Buenos Aires, everyone has that friend in their life. And I think that's why it resonates with so many people. Lauren, I bet you were the troublemaker in your friendship group, innit? I can see, you got like a cheeky little face. I can see that you were a troublemaker when you were at school.
Actually, I learned to be a troublemaker because I was such a swot that I got beaten for about 6 years. So I was actually the nerd who would I was reading the Bible and the complete works of Shakespeare in break time.
Wow.
That's who little Lauren was. And then that didn't go down too well with the skinheads in my year. And so then I got the kind of the comedic persona to kind of carry me through. So outside this comedic persona is a swotty, quiet person.
It's a real, you're in the nerd.
In the nerd, yeah, I'm embracing that. Alhamdulillah. We were talking a little bit before we went live, Tez, about the laughing clown, so that's my little tragic story. It's not that tragic, really. Alhamdulillah, it's about character building, isn't it? And it's about resilience. I just want to say that I was inauthentic then, and now, alhamdulillah, I find great ease in being authentic. But Tez, what's your inner character building story on the road to being a comic? Were you the tragic, quiet one, or were you just annoying?
No, I was a really annoying one. Even now, I constantly annoy my friends with just this. This gets me into trouble so much. When I was in school, I was a swot at school. I was like a proper nerd in that I got decent grades for the school that I went to. So I went to like a really rough school that had like a GCSE pass rate of 35%, like a really underachieving, rough, inner northern town school. And I was kind of one of the handful of kids that always did quite well in class and got decent grades. I let the other kids copy my homework. That made me quite popular and stuff. But my mouth always got me into trouble in class because I'd never know when to shut up. Like, I got put on report 3 times and I never got made prefect. And that for someone of my grades, that was like unprecedented in my school to not be made prefect or to be put on report even once, let alone 3 times. So I was kind of in between in that I was a swot, because I love school. I was a sort of kid who loved learning, but I also loved just running my mouth. And I went to school with my cousins, and they always protected me. And so in our friendship groups, we were all quite popular kids. Even like there's a bit of bullying and stuff, but it was that sort of thing where like everyone just takes the mick out of everyone. So you might have a really bad day where people are on at you about a thing, but then tomorrow it's going to be someone else. And then constantly just going around like, oh yeah, we're picking on this kid today. But it was never the case of like, oh, we're picking on one kid relentlessly for like 5 years. That was never in our school. It was kind of like everyone's a target depending on what they're up to that day. So I got it a few times or a few days when I went home from school thinking, oh man, I got it today badly, didn't I? But then the next day you come back and you fire on someone else, and then they're gonna get it, and then they're probably gonna go home feeling a bit bad. But But that's how we survived school. It was a mad one, but I really enjoyed it. But I didn't have that tragic thing. I know because a lot of comic friends of mine suffer from depression now. Like a lot of comic friends of mine are on antidepressants, and they talk about getting therapy, which
So
if they need is amazing.
let's stay here a moment, Tez, and I want to talk about that because in your friendship group, what are the, as they say, the triggers? Why are comedians, do you think, more fallible, or is it because they go on stage that they're already needy?
I think it's a mixture of a few different things. I mean, this career in itself is not a normal career. The fact that we feel the need to go on stage to appease strangers is not normal, I would suggest. And then if those strangers don't give us the reactions that we want from them, it ruins our day. So there's definitely some sort of insecure neediness within us that we need to do that. And for different people, that will come from different places. For some people, it might be a difficult childhood. For some people, it might be a difficult teen years. For some people, it might just be they have this inner need to perform for the world and be like, hey, look at me, I have this need for attention and I just want to perform. For some people, it's an innate talent. Some people are genuinely just very, very talented and need to be on stage to express that. But there is definitely beneath all of that, there is a need to be accepted. And I think most comics are probably outsiders. And they're probably outsiders. Look, even if they're accepted within a friendship group, they're probably on the outside of that friendship group, observing it rather than being a full participant. That's what I found.
Do you think that's the artist's eye of looking in on a situation and going, that's really interesting. He's doing that to him. X plus Y equals Z. Bad situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny how many comics, even the big expressive ones, are really introverted in real life. A lot of comics that you see on stage, like Lee Evans is a very, very, very famous example. Lee Evans, very expressive, very extroverted on stage, big performance.
Bit of sweat, like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. And part of that are his nerves as well. His sweating is linked to his nerves. And his jerky style is linked to his nerves as well. But he's just a very, very introverted guy off stage, quite shy. If you meet him in real life, he's quite a shy person. Chris Rock is another famous example. He's not really Chris Rock isn't someone you call a shy person, but he's not the guy you see on stage in real life. That is an exaggerated performance, an exaggerated part of himself. And someone asked Chris Rock once. They said to him, Chris Rock is one of my favorite comedians and one of the most famous comedians in the world. And someone asked him once, "How are you so funny?" And Chris Rock said, "I stay quiet in large groups of people." So what he does is, when he's around groups of people, he just stays quiet, observe what they're saying. People will always say funny, hilarious, stupid things. He takes that on board, and then maybe sometimes he works backwards from a phrase. Maybe sometimes someone will tell a story and he adopts that for himself. So there's so many different ways of working, but definitely a lot of comics are not the people that you see on stage in real life.
How do you work with your comic routine? Because you do a lot of characters. I think you're a character person. You like to see how people behave together, not so much phrases. Or are you a phrase comic?
I think I'm a lot of different things. I like observing things. I like satirizing things. I like looking at real things and holding that up to an audience and saying, look at this thing here. That's why I talk a lot about myself and my life as a British Pakistani Muslim in the UK, because that's a unique perspective that I have that a lot of my friends on the circuit don't have. So you talk about what you know is a golden rule of comedy. And I just see what people find funny, and luckily for me, the things that I talk about mostly people have been entertained by, and that's really good. And also secondary to that, if there are things that I'm saying and people take a deeper meaning behind it, because there are sometimes I like to sneak some messages in there, and then if people take those messages on board, then that's also great.
I wouldn't say you sneak them in. I'd say you put them front and center and boot people in the face with them. I mean, you've been really kind of, smartly brutal with some of the prejudice about Muslims, and really held that up to the audiences. Have you ever thought, I've gone too far here?
Oh yeah, all the time. But with anything in life, you've got to push it to a point until someone says, buddy, maybe tone that down a little bit, and you're like, oh, okay, fine. If enough people are saying me to tone it down, then maybe I need to look at that. But I think you've got to push it, because until you push it, you don't know the edges of what is acceptable and what you can get away with. And so I think it's important to push any kind of art. And you look at even sport. You look at the people who are the best in their field at sport. They push the envelope so far that when people are watching them, they think, God, I didn't even know that was possible, the thing that this person is doing. And so I'm not comparing myself to the greats in any business, but what I'm saying is, if you want to even, try to achieve that sort of level, you've got to push the envelope as far as possible, I think.
So I want to ask you something specific about being a Muslim comedian here. I was at the Edinburgh Fringe last year with my show, name drop, Accidentally Muslim. And I deliberately went to see comedians of other faiths, and some Muslim comedians. And what I found was these were Muslim comedians starting out, that there appeared to me a desperateness to fit in, which meant going into really the worst kind of sordid, cheap comedy, such sexualized content. So they do like 30 minutes when you're like, yeah, okay. And then the last 10 minutes is like, oh, white people need smut. Let's crowbar this in, lose all of our inner ethics and authenticity, and just talk filth. Do you see that as a fake comedian that need to fit in can really take authenticity away?
I mean, it depends who that person is. Like for that person, that might be authentic to them. I mean, we've all got different ways that we express our faith. They might not even be that. I mean, I don't know who you're talking about. So they might not even be that religious. These people, they might not necessarily practice their faith in the way that you and I do. So I think different people will obviously express their art in different ways. For me, I have that small thing at the back of my mind where I'm like, honestly, the main thing is like, what would my mum say if she was watching my show? That is kind of the thing that is always at the back of my mind. But I try to stay authentic to myself in that if I want to talk about a thing that even some people might think, oh, I don't want to hear you talk about that, I'd be like, well, I want to talk about it, so I will talk about it. But then you also got to think about what sort of artist you are, what sort of comedian you are, because there are certain things that some people can get away with because that's the sort of comedian they are. They have that sort of charm. Where there are other things that other people can get away with because that's the sort of comedian they are. Like me, I know that I'm a very cheeky person. I can get away with a lot of very, very cheeky things on stage that other people might not get away with necessarily because they don't have a similar personality to me. So I think it's different for different comics. And yeah, like I said, I think it depends who these people are. It's a shame if they're not being authentic to themselves. But with some people, that might be authentic to them because, like I said, they might not practice the faith in the way that you and I do.
So what I'm wondering though is what are your parameters? Because it's really interesting. We meet on different circuits in the community and often a political. So we share an interest there. But then you always wonder what are the parameters that we put up for ourselves where we're going, you know what, I could do that, but I fear Allah.
Yeah, definitely. My big thing is, so I come from Blackburn. I live in Blackburn. I spend at least half my time here when I'm not traveling, going out and about doing shows. And, I want to be able to walk the streets of my hometown. There's a large Asian Muslim population in this town. It's about 40% of the population, roughly now, I think. There'll be a census next year and we'll find out for sure. But it's about that. So I want to be able to walk around my hometown hassle-free. So I am always conscious of what I say and what I represent in my art, in my comedy, on my social media. And I think to myself, am I representing a true, authentic version of myself that would also allow me to walk the streets of my hometown hassle-free? I don't mind upsetting certain groups of people in it. Like if I'm upsetting Tommy Robinson or Kitty Hopkins or voters of a certain political parties, I don't mind that in it because I feel like I'm standing up to certain types of oppressors. But also I think it's so important to stand up to certain type of oppressors that might come from within your own community, because as we know, no community is infallible. There are bad people in every single community, whether they are white, black, Chinese or whatever, or whether they are Muslim, Christian, atheist or whatever. There are bad groups of people that exist in all these communities. Being bad or having bad habits is not exclusive to any one community, creed, gender, etc., etc., etc. I think it's important to be able to stand up to people who say bad things about your religion, but also I think it's important to stand up to people within your own culture, within your own creed, who actually bring your religion or culture into disrepute. So I try and find that balance, because I don't always. I find it awkward sometimes, always preaching to the choir. Like, you can't always say positive things that will always elicit a round of applause when people hear them and stuff. But what I found about non-Muslim audiences is that they actually sometimes like being challenged. A lot of my comedy, most of my comedy is to non-Muslim audiences. But 95%, I am on the mainstream comedy circuit in the UK. I am playing mainstream comedy clubs, the Comedy Store, Up the Creek Comedy Club, Hot Water Comedy Club, proper mainstream comedy clubs that are frequented 95% by British white people. And I will do the comedy that I do. And some of it is often challenging their perceptions, or even sometimes some of the audience's prejudices. But I do that because that was authentic to me. But sometimes I feel like it's important to maybe do that to our own community as well, because there are also bad people who exist in our communities and in our cultures, and there are prejudices that are hidden within our cultures and communities as well. So I think it's important to be able to challenge all of those things and to be able to play to all those different audiences and say, listen, sometimes it's not always about hearing just what you want to hear. Sometimes it's about challenging your perception about a thing and thinking about things differently. And I found that actually doing that to white British audiences is easier than doing it to our own audiences.
That may be because it's a minority that you're speaking to in the UK. Minorities are always feel they have to stand firm on certain things and not change. Let's move on to a day in the fast of Tez Ilyas. Now, just to be clear, we've been doing this now for 14 days.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, shukrullah, and thanks again to watan.org.uk. Please look at what we're fundraising for here and make your donations as you feel able by the grace of Allah. And people, because we're fasting, sometimes you're worried, is somebody awake? Are they asleep? Are they, and we can imagine expectations on people. And so I knew you as a professional person who's used to taking bookings. You'll be here. It might be skin of the teeth. It may be 3 minutes beforehand. I knew Tez Ilyas is going to be on that.
You're putting it on me now, yeah. Listen, the producer of the show was sending me like 15 texts before we started because they were worried that I wasn't going to make it. But alhamdulillah, I was always going to make it, and I'm here, and we can go into why I was slightly later than your producer would have liked.
So let's go into that because let's go into a day in the fast of Tez Ilyas. Talk us through that.
Okay, so we'll start at Sahri. So Sahri in the UK is around 3:30. It's been between about 3:30, 4 a.m. here. So I will stay awake through the night because I'm the sort of person that once I'm asleep, I'm like a bear. I'm hibernating. I'm gone. I'm gone for the night. And I also suffer from insomnia, so I find it easier to stay awake during the night than to try and get sleep. And if I catch some sleep, then try and wake up again. So I stay up till. Obviously, it's different when the fasts or when Sahris are like 7 a.m. It's different. But when Sahris are like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., then I can stay awake. So I stay awake. I will have my smoothie, which I've made earlier in the night, and then I will brush my teeth. I will read Fajr, and then I'll go to bed. So I go to bed around between 4, 4:15. Toss and turn, eventually fall asleep between 4:30 and 5 a.m. Then, Sister Lauren, I am dead to the world. I am gone. I put an alarm on for about midday, 12:30.
Midday.
No, listen, I've gone to bed at 5.
So
I've gone to bed at 5. Well, that's your problem, Sister Lauren. I want my full sleep. Yeah, I want and need my full sleep. So then I try and wake up at 12. Yeah, I mean, you're scoffing at 12.
12.
I mean, 12 would be early.
Allah.
So today, ask me what time I got out of bed today.
Tez, what time did you get out of bed today?
That's really nosy, Sister Lauren. But to answer your question, 3 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're looking
So
very fresh for it, mashallah,
thank you
mashallah.
very much. So for me, actually, this is like 10 a.m. So I got out of bed at 3 p.m., had my shower, did some meditation. I've started doing that using the Calm app on my phone. It's very, very helpful. Then came downstairs, read my Zohar namaz, read the Quran, read one juz, one spara of the Quran. And because I'd procrastinated a little bit between having the shower, then meditating, coming downstairs, blah, 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 it ended up pushing it later than I'd intended to. And so that encroached on the time when I was supposed to come on for the sound check at 5:15 UK time, and ended up logging on at 23 minutes past. And in those 8 minutes, your producer was texting me and messaging me and ringing me saying, "Where are you? Where are you?" And I'm like, "Brother, I was always going to be here. I just want to finish these few things that I've started, and then I'm Sisters Lawrence for the next 50 minutes."
Alhamdulillah.
Then this is happening.
Yep.
And then after this, I will read my Asr. And then I will do some work. I will do some admin, a bit of comedy stuff, writing or whatever. Then I'll do some exercise before iftar. I'll do my 15 minutes high intensity interval exercise. I think 15 minutes is a good time. Any longer than that, and it's not really good because I'm fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have a quick freshen up, put some clothes on, do my wuzu, come downstairs 5 minutes before iftar, do a little dua, and then me and my mum will sit down, have our iftar together, read my maghrib, then have a light dinner, and then watch some TV, and then read my Isha and my Tarawih around 11 p.m. And then after that, watch some more TV, then have a bigger dinner at around 1 a.m., and then watch some more TV, and then get ready for Sahri, and then repeat the cycle again.
Subhanallah.
So there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and it's amazing. That's like barakah of time, right up until the TV stuff. That's an impressive amount of work that you're doing for the sake of Allah in this holy month. I want to know, have you managed to, what juz are you on of the Quran?
I've just read the 14th,
Mashallah.
so I will read the 15th tomorrow. I want to try and finish it, all 30 juzes, by the night of the 27th.
Inshallah.
So, inshallah, on what might be the night of power. So, when I'm usually reading Tarawih in the mosque behind the Imam finishes the entire Quran by the 27th. So, because I'm not reading Tarawih behind an Imam this month, unfortunately, I want to try and finish my Quran on that same night.
Allah bless you.
As he would do as well.
We wanted to talk about, you mentioned du'as. You'll make some du'as before your iftar. And the topic today is enlightening du'as. I knew we'd get there in the end, inshallah. Is there a du'a that especially moves you? This is the 10 days of forgiveness. It's incredible to think, Tez, and everybody out there, Assalamu alaikum, wherever you're coming from in the world. I know we have people from Malaysia and Bangladesh and all around the UK, mashallah, Assalamu alaikum. It's great to see you here. This is the 10 days of forgiveness. So we could all come out of this 10 days, if Allah wills, fresh, freed, all that stuff. How do you acknowledge that, and what du'as are you making?
So I make du'as I start from my family. So I start from my mother, my father, my sisters, my brothers, my nieces, my nephews, my grandmas, my granddads, and then I move on to my aunts, my uncles, my cousins' children, my cousins' spouses, and then my wider family, then my friends' families, then the community, and then the ummah, and then I go into the different countries where Muslims are being oppressed. So I go as east as I can to China, to the Uyghurs, and then I make my way west to the Rohingya, Bangladesh, Muslims in India, Kashmir, Pakistan, Afghanistan, making my way then west to Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan, then go south to the African countries, to Egypt, Libya, then Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria, Mali, all of these countries. So, and then also do a special prayer for the Muslims in the West, who are obviously in certain circumstances find it hard to connect with their religion as easily as they might like to. So do a special prayer for them. I pray that all the Muslims around the world are lifted from their oppressors, whether the oppressors are non-Muslims or whether the oppressors are Muslims. Because as we know, a lot of our rulers around the world who are Muslim oppress other Muslims. So I pray for their hidayah and guidance, and I pray that any Muslim ruler who is oppressing their subjects grants Allah grants them hidayah and guidance.
You know what? I'm
And
going to jump in here because I
go
think
on.
what we should do is get you to make that dua at the end of this program, because that is so complete, and I've never heard it put like that. And I just think at each of those moments, it can be like a barb either being pulled from our heart, like a thorn. It's like, for me, you only have to say, "Oh Allah, bless Palestine, ya Allah," and that's me. I'm just finished. And we all need to recognize the suffering of others. I think that's so beautiful, mashallah. So let's do that at the end.
Okay, let's do that.
Today.
Inshallah.
How about that? Inshallah ta'ala. Sound good?
Inshallah.
I want
good.
to share. I want to share a dua now with everybody from the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My Rab, forgive my mistakes, my ignorance, and my excess in all my affairs. And you can all say Ameen, okay?
Ameen.
You are better aware of them, my faults, than myself. O Allah, forgive my mistakes which I committed deliberately and inadvertently, and those I committed in fun, and all of those attributes are within me. Ya Allah, forgive what I've sent before me and what I have left behind me, what I have concealed and what I have done openly. You are the one who sends forth, and you are the one who delays, and you are over all things, all aware. Ameen, Ya Rabbul Alameen.
Ameen. That is beautiful. Yeah, I do. Well, once I've talked about all the people in the world, I then move on to myself, and I ask, I use very similar words to that dua. I ask Allah to forgive me for all my sins openly, the ones behind closed doors, the ones consciously, subconsciously, knowingly, unknowingly, deliberate, indeliberate, but accidental, and also then to grant me all of my halal desires that I have. Allah knows the desires I have in my heart. Some of them might not be halal, but I ask Allah to grant me the halal desires I have, the halal ambitions that I have. Allah knows the ambitions I have. I'm a very ambitious person. I'm embarked on this career to make a name for myself. But I ask Allah to grant me all that He can that is halal and that will allow me to be a better Muslim. So I start with my family. I then go out to the wider world. I then come back to myself. And ask Allah to forgive me of all my fallacies and make me a better human being, vis-a-vis a better Muslim and a better brother, a better son, a better grandson, a better nephew, a better uncle, and all those, and a better friend as well. So I try and encompass all those things. And it takes 4 or 5 minutes. But what is that in your day?
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking about how the different levels of who we are as human beings. And as believers, how we cover them in a dua like that. So we've got society, we've got the ummah, the community around the world. And then we've got who we are outside our homes, what we're projecting onto people. We've got our desires, how we're impacting on people. And then we turn into ourselves and we really look at that stage of and cleanse my nafs and my greed and give me better whatever ethics or guidance. So there's help for the ummah. There's clarity for our desires and inner cleansing. That's amazing. Subhanallah Azim.
Subhanallah. And I understand how fallible I am. I mean, I'm constantly distracted when I'm praying my salah, when I'm reading my Quran, when I'm trying to remember Allah. I am constantly distracted by all these thoughts in my head, and so I ask Allah for forgiveness of that too, and to grant me the patience and the hidayah to be able to do these things with more concentration and with only having the thought of Allah in my mind when I do these things, and that would be ultimate enlightenment, I think.
Ameen. May Allah bless you. To be, in the public realm is not easy as a believer.
No, it's not. There are constant, and in this time as well, the time that we live in, the 21st century, living in the West, it isn't easy, and may Allah accept all our efforts, however small they are.
I mean, there was there's a famous hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, where there will come a time when holding on to Islam will be like putting a hot rock of coal into your hand and being asked to clasp it. It's like, oh, it's really burning, it's really tough. but the reward for those of us, may we all be counted amongst them, who don't just drop it, because right, the temptation, the other side of that is just let it go, just let it go.
Yeah, but I think it's also
Go with the
important.
flow. Just go with the flow.
Yeah, I think it's also important to speak to those people who maybe have dropped the pebble, they have dropped the rock, that it's never too late to pick it back up. Allah forgives, and as long as you turn back to Him, whatever stage you are in your life, as long as you turn back to Allah at some point, obviously sooner rather than later, but if you turn back to Allah and make sincere forgiveness and intentions to do the right thing and be the best Muslim that you can be, then inshallah, Allah knows best, but inshallah, Allah, who is, Allah's mercy is infinite, and hopefully you'll become part of that.
I mean, Ya Rabbal, I mean, one of the best ways, of course, that we can show Allah that we love Him and show Him that we're changing is to be generous and do good deeds for others and actually act upon those impulses, because there is the famous hadith about the angel who goes to a city and he's sent there by Allah to destroy it. It's absolutely decimated, no ethics in this city, awful things going on. And so Allah sends the angel of destruction, and they two angels, and they get to the house at the beginning, and there is a man there, and he's a pious man. And so the angels go back to Allah and they say, this man prays and he fasts and he believes. And Allah says, start with him. When you hear that, you think, how can that be? He's a pious man. Because in that area of abuse of Allah's hair that is going on by the people, that pious person didn't try to change anything.
Wow.
He was just in his room being pious. And that is actually a dangerous station to be in, because Islam is a doing verb. It is something that must impact how we behave with our parents, so the people of our houses, right? There's no point saying, I've got my beard, or I've got my hijab, and I eat halal food, and I beat my parents. You think you're going to Jannah? How would it be let? You have to stop that behavior. You have to positively impact that behavior. Subhanallah Azim. So we're here, by the grace of Allah, to share with you some great work that watan.org.uk are doing for Syrian refugees, because part of this holy month is the it's the verb, it's the doing. What are we doing this month? Tez, talk to us a little bit about connecting with the Syrian question, inshallah.
Well, I assume most people watching this, obviously not everyone, so apologies, but most people watching this, we're probably living fairly comfortable lives. I mean, speak for you and me. We're living in I count Turkey just the start of the West. We're living in at least in Europe, in the West. Obviously, that's not the case for everyone, but I'm sure most people who are watching are living fairly comfortable lives. We have roofs over our heads. We can eat whenever we like. Obviously, it's Ramadan, so we try not to during the day at least, but we know that when iftari rolls around, there will be food on our tables. There will be food on our families' tables who are not with us right now. We can go out to the supermarkets, and the supermarkets will be full, and we can purchase whatever we like for our iftari, for our sehri, for the bit in between, if we want to gorge. And we have that, and we have security, we have police, we have a functioning government. You might not like the government, but it's a functioning government. There are people in the world who don't have that, and unfortunately our Syrian brothers and sisters are part of that, and they have just suffered the worst type of civil war over the last decade, where civilians were deliberately targeted by their own government, by other groups who came into the country to meddle, by then foreign intervention as well. And those people were just in the middle, being pushed around from pillar to post, being targeted from so many different groups, and they just suffered the most unimaginable horror that you see in movies that you'd think is just a fantasy that couldn't possibly be real. But people have lived through that. We've seen documentaries like Force Armor, which showcases the brutal things that people went through, but also how they hung on to their humanity. People still had children during this time. I think it's unbelievable to think that while they were going through the civil war, people were still trying to have children, raise their children to be God fearing. And we are in a position where we have plenty to actually offer a small portion of our wealth to ensure that these people have something during Ramadan and beyond to be able to live a fuller and more dignified life. And hopefully, inshallah, in the future, Allah will provide for them as much as He's providing for us.
Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. That's a beautiful summary of what we've had to look at as some kind of weird bystander to one of the great appalling massacres of the century, surely. A'udhu billah. And that gift of being able to share as well, of being the one who's giving, and that Islam has so many characteristics that when you give, you never mention it again. You know, it's not like you can say, oh, I made a donation today to Syria, I'm feeling so good. You might as well the khair has gone for it. The money is still donated, and alhamdulillah, it will reach them. But the real barakah in our lives is the humility that being charitable brings to us. So it's that two-way street. And I think, you know, really, subhanallah, major faiths are unique in that understanding that the giver gets the same and more potentially as the one who receives, because it's better to be giving than receiving.
Absolutely.
Just gonna nod at that.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what you're saying. I'm thinking, yeah, you know, if you're in a position to give, then you absolutely should, because there will be a time in this life is fleeting. We've seen from the coronavirus how fleeting people's employment situations are, how fleeting people's health is, that actually things can turn around for you so quickly. And next Ramadan, Allah forbid, but me and you, or people watching this could be the people who need zakat or sadaqah from other people to get through our day. May Allah not put us in that position, but that is what could happen. You know, the things are very fleeting. Who knows what the next year can bring for people? I mean, you know, we even at the beginning of January, we didn't think 3 months later, 4 months later, that this is the position the world would be in. Even in February, we didn't think. Even at the beginning of March, when things were progressing, we didn't think we'd be in this position 6 weeks later. So, you know, things can change so quickly. We've seen around the world where there have been natural disasters where people go to bed absolutely fine, thinking that tomorrow's going to be a normal day, and then an earthquake hits or a tsunami hits, and their entire life has changed completely. Through nothing that person has done, but that is Allah's will. So we should never ever take anything we have in this life for granted, and part of that is giving to other people who don't have as much as we do ourselves.
MashaAllah. And you know, we're here to send food to Syrian families. It's £60 for a basket, and the food basket in clean water is for up to 6 people. So I'm just going to run down now, and the links, brothers and sisters, are down below. Okay, so do press. You can either press go to watan.org.uk. You can see all their education projects that they do, the employment projects, the microfinance, and the feeding projects. Or you can go to my Just Giving page and make the small donation or the large donation that you want to. Again, all of the donations to my Just Giving page this Ramadan are for Syrian refugees, and it's going towards food baskets and clean water. And what's really beautiful that Watan has done is they're really focused on giving people what they need. So, for example, if I were to get rice and bulgur wheat, I might think, I need potatoes, you know, I need tomatoes, I need different things, you know, bisto gravy, you know, I don't know what English food is, right? But there, what we're giving to the refugees, alhamdulillah, on the Turkish border is this: rice, bulgur wheat flour, pasta, chickpeas, the main staples that people can really understand the flavors of, live with, give them a bit of a taste of home. You can't inflict, you know, pain on top of pain by giving people what they don't need. So this is really from their cupboards. Lentils, beans and green peas, olive oil, vegetable oil, sugar, dates and salt. And that huge basket of food is enough for 4 to 5 weeks for a family of up to 6. And it comes with clean water. Now, I live in Turkey right now, and most people, just to be on the safe side, in Istanbul, we rely on bottles of water. And when we didn't have it, right, for a couple of days, maybe we hit a lockdown and we didn't make it out in time, you're like, okay, now we're going to have to drink from the tap. But what if there was no tap, or the tap was 3 roads down, and what comes out of it is brown water? So that never underestimate the delivery of clean water to these families. So please, brothers and sisters, for the sake of Allah, and to improve your wealth, to cleanse ourselves this holy month, to get all of these beautiful blessings. Give. Bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Tez, to you.
Yeah, I agree. What do you want from me now, Lauren?
I think I want you to give us a really nice dua
To finish off.
To finish off, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will say before I start that this is not something I'm used to doing out loud or publicly. So please forgive me, and may Allah forgive me if I misspeak in any kind of way. That is not my intention. So please, the dua that I make, please take it with the good intention that I intend to deliver it with. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم صل عليه. Oh Allah, please forgive me of all my sins. Oh Allah, please forgive me of all my sins of my mother, my father, my grandmothers, my grandfathers, my great-grandmothers, my great-grandfathers. Please forgive the sins of my brothers, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews. Please Allah, forgive the sins of my uncles, my aunts, my cousins. Please forgive the sins of my cousins' spouses, my cousins' children. Please Allah, forgive the sins of my wider family. You know how many family members I have, Allah. I can barely count them all. Please Allah, forgive all of their sins. Oh Allah, please forgive them all of their sins. Allah, please forgive the sins of my friends' families. Allah, please forgive the sins of all the Muslim people who live in my community here in Blackburn, all the Muslims who live in the wider community of the United Kingdom. Allah, please forgive the sins of all the ummah of our beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, past, present and future, and grant us all Jannah without reckoning. Allah, please ease the suffering of all the Muslims who are suffering around the world today. Allah, please protect them from their oppressors, particularly the Muslims who are in China, the Uyghur Muslims who are suffering at the brutal oppression of the Chinese government. Allah, please protect them, and please, Allah, please free them from their oppressors. Allah, please free the Rohingya from their oppressors, and please, Allah, please ease their suffering. Same with the Muslims in Bangladesh, the Muslims in India, in Gujarat, who are suffering from this appalling current Indian government. Allah, please forgive them all of all their sins and ease their suffering. Allah, please ease the suffering of all the Muslims in Kashmir, the Muslims who are suffering in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, the Muslims suffering in Iran, particularly the Muslims in Yemen, Allah, who have suffered through a horrendous civil war and bombardment from their neighbor. Allah, please forgive them of all their sins and ease their suffering. Please ease the suffering of our Syrian brothers and sisters who have gone through a horrific civil war over the last 10 years. Allah, please ease their suffering and free them from their oppressors. Same with the Muslims in Palestine, in West Bank and Gaza, and the Palestinian refugees living in Lebanon and Jordan and wherever the displaced Palestinian refugees around the world. Allah, please ease their suffering and free them from their oppressors. Oh Allah, please forgive all of the sins and free them from the oppressors of the Muslims in Egypt, in Libya, in Sudan, in Somalia, in Nigeria, in Mali, in Tunisia, in wherever Muslims are around the world. Allah, wherever they are suffering, wherever they are oppressed, whether they are oppressed by Muslims or non-Muslims. Oh Allah, please, Allah, forgive them of their sins and free them from their oppressors. Allah, if the oppressors of Muslims are Muslim themselves, Allah, please grant those oppressors hidayah and guidance, or destroy them. Allah, where the oppressors are not Muslim, Allah, please grant some wisdom to the oppressors to stop oppressing people or destroy them. Allah, you're the benevolent, the most merciful. Please shower your mercy upon all the Muslims and all the people around the world who are suffering from oppressors. Well, all the Muslims and non-Muslims alike who are suffering from the coronavirus around the world. Well, please ease our suffering and protect us from this awful disease. And please grant the scientists who are working so hard around the world the wisdom and the clarity to come out with the antivirus and to protect humanity from this awful disease. Lord, you never send a plague without its cure. So please allow the scientists around the world to discover this cure as soon as possible. Oh Lord, you are the benevolent, the most merciful. Oh Lord, please forgive me of all of my sins. I am such a bad Muslim, but Lord, you have blessed me with so many things in my life, with my family, with my health, with my wealth. Lord, please continue to do so. Thank you so much for allowing me to live through another Ramadan and get all the blessings from it. Please forgive me of all of my sins, major, minor, intentional, unintentional, deliberate, the sins that I make consciously, unconsciously, the past sins, the present sins, the future sins. Oh Allah, please forgive me of all of them. Oh Allah, you know what is in my heart, and you know what is in the heart of all the people listening to this. Allah, whatever halal desires and ambitions we have in our hearts, Allah, please grant them to us and allow us to live a life that is fulfilled both for our families and also for the sake of your pleasure. Allah, you are everything without us. We are nothing without you. So please, Allah, shower us with your blessings and your mercy. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun al mursalin alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ameen.
May Allah Ta'ala accept that really most beautiful dua. Thanks, Tez Ilyas. May Allah bless you. And
Ameen.
all of those things. And salams to your family.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Thanks again, Tez.
Thank you so much for having me. Assalamu alaikum to everyone, and have a peaceful Ramadan.
Ameen. And to you. Take care, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to wrap it up there just to say, after that beautiful dua, all that we can say is, may Allah Ta'ala allow us to be able to support the Syrian brothers and sisters with this food. Please make your donation. You can just click a link there. Salams to everybody from Palestine who's tuning in, and all to you all around the world. And I'll be back at the same time tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.